When it came to the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, we got an awful lot right about this camera, with the exception of one big glaring, well, mistake. It didn't have a BSI stacked sensor. So what went wrong? Details coming up, but first I encourage you to subscribe and choose all notifications so you're kept informed on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. We got an awful lot correct about the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, but the one thing we got wrong was that sensor, backside illuminated stacked sensor. And many of you were very quick to say you got that wrong. And I did a live show last night starting at 11 o'clock, going to the announcement and afterwards. So if there was anything wrong, I was there to own it up. But since that live show last night, many of you have still come back and said, look, you got it wrong. It wasn't backside illuminated. Your source was incorrect. It wasn't very reliable. You see, that's the nature of rumors. No matter how reliable and trustworthy a source is, no matter their track record, things aren't always correct. Sometimes they get wrong information sent to them. Sometimes the information that we're reporting on isn't so much of a rumor, but somebody coming up with what they think to be the specifications for a new camera and gets passed off as a rumor. But one thing I've always tried to couch when it comes to rumors is that they're not fact. And even if they're accurate, even if they're fact at this moment in time, up until the announcement, until that announcement takes place, anything can change. So yes, feel free to get excited, have fun with them. And we certainly had an awful lot of fun yesterday doing that live stream. I enjoyed spending time with almost 800 of you. I couldn't believe how many people dialed in for the pre-show coverage, then talking about the specifications of the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, and of course what we got wrong and what we got right. So the whole purpose of this video was to address what we got wrong and to say, yes, I heard you. We did get that wrong about the BSI stacked sensor. It came from a known trustworthy source, and I still stand by that source. But unfortunately, in this case, they got the information wrong. But look at the other information that I got correct. First of all, there was the other trusted, reliable source that told us we were getting an announcement on or around midnight. And that happened. That was accurate. What else did we get correct? Well, this camera provides 6K oversample 4K up to 60 frames per second. And I called it. I said, there's no way this camera is going to do 4K, 24, 25, and 30 frames per second with a 24 megapixel sensor and not deliver 6K oversample 4K, and that we do have, all the way up to 60 frames per second. I also said that that 30-minute record limit would be gone. And I also said that, well, maybe not gone, but like the R3, extended. And yes, it's no longer 30 minutes, it's now 6 hours. I don't know why it's 6 hours. That's just hilarious to me. I can picture Casey from Camera Conspiracies doing a rant about Jenkins in the boardroom, saying, sir, we got to get rid of that 30-minute record limit. And somebody saying, no, Jenkins, we can't get rid of it. Let's just extend it to 6 hours. Let them believe it's gone. But really, it's still there, our cripple hammer lurking, so that way we can always pull it back and clobber people when we want to. So we do have that 30-minute record limit gone, but what we also have is a better thermal architecture. There's no reports of overheating in this camera. There's no overheat limit at 40 minutes. As opposed to the Mark I, and that's a definite sign that we have a better thermal architecture in this camera. And when it comes to stills, I said most likely we would have north of 20 frames per second, because if we look at the Canon EOS R6, the Canon EOS R7 and R10, they're capable of 23 and 30 frames per second. So wouldn't we see something similar here? And we did. The Canon EOS R6 Mark II is capable of 40. That's right, 40 frames per second electronic. Very similar to what Fuji just recently came out with. So 40 frames per second is much higher. And the rolling shutter, believe it or not, is hardly noticeable here in this camera. And that's thanks to a new image processor. New image sensor. The 24.2 megapixel sensor is a whole new sensor. It's just not backside illuminated or stacked. And that's a good opportunity to talk about what Canon missed in this camera, what things they failed to address, and some irritants that we still have with the camera. Well, the first being 24.2 megapixels. When Canon came out with the EOS R, it was around 30.3 megapixels, and a lot of us got used to that. So when Canon came out with the EOS R6 Mark I, 20 megapixels just seemed like a bit of a kick in the teeth. Are you kidding me? $2,500 and you're only giving us 20 megapixels? Well, this bumps it up to 24, which is a 20% improvement, but still, it's nowhere near that 26 to 30 that many of us were hoping for. Now, me personally, I actually don't mind 24 megapixels or even 20 megapixels for what I shoot. I'm using photos, I'm using social media, and really that's more than enough for me. But I get it, for a lot of professionals where this camera is aimed, And calling it a Mini 1DX Mark III, you want a little bit more. You want a little bit more freedom. But at the same point, for a lot of professionals who are able to frame up to do portraits, fashion, low light photography, this is more than enough. But for anything sort of fast moving, you generally, or even wildlife, you want to be able to have the ability to crop in a little bit. So that's a bit of a sore point. And of course, not being BSI or stacked. But again, I caution, let's take a look at the outcomes. If you're not having very much rolling shutter, you're having a very fast shutter speed for both mechanical and electronic, those are definitely wins. If you're not having much rolling shutter and the autofocus system is accurate, sure, it would be nicer to have BSI or stacked, but as I said with the Canon EOS R5, it's neither BSI or stacked, and look what it's capable of doing. 8K oversampled, 8K video, 8K raw video, 8K oversampled, 4K video. It has some pretty impressive capabilities, and 20 frames per second electronic at 45 megapixels. So not being BSI or stacked doesn't mean it's antiquated technology or that the camera is going to somehow in 3 years just not work and not compete. It looks like a pretty decent camera. The camera also still has that Type D connector for HDMI, which means it's a micro connector. I'm not really surprised this one stayed in there. Canon obviously didn't want to change too much on the body because the more you change, the more costs are incurred. But really, that micro HDMI connector is just, it's a little bit frustrating. But as I said earlier, the main reason for doing this video is to address what we got wrong. I hyped up a video. We talked about this time and time again, that based on reliable sources, the Canon EOS R6 Mark II was going to have a backside illuminated stacked sensor. And when I get things wrong, normally what I do is I just reply in the comments. But as you can see here, I've got so many comments saying, you're wrong, your source was wrong, your reliable source, not so reliable. So that's why I wanted to address the Canon EOS R6 and some of the mistakes we made in a separate video. Not bury it in the comments somewhere, but to let you know that me as a presenter here on The Ordinary Filmmaker, I'm not afraid of making bold predictions and providing my own analysis and opinion. But when I get it wrong, I'm not afraid to admit it as well. And if you watched my live stream last night, where I got over 800, well, no, not over, but close to 800 concurrent viewers, I also admitted it live that, yeah, we got this one wrong, because sometimes we do get things wrong. And one of the reasons why I'm doing it in a separate video and not in the comments below is not because I'm afraid of hiding from something. It's because, well, there was so much interest from this that I felt it was only right for you to deliver this in a video and show you that I'm not afraid of admitting when we get things wrong. There was so much hype about this camera, so much interest. Yesterday alone, I got over 35,000 views. And on my live stream, I got close to 800 concurrent viewers and a total of 3,600 viewers in that 1 hour alone. It was just absolutely astonishing. I knew there was a lot of pent-up demand for the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. More interest, believe it or not, than I had when I covered the Canon EOS R5 back in 2020. So with all this information, for all the comments that I got from many of you saying, you got it wrong, your reliable source isn't so reliable, many comments like that, none of them rude, but I understand your feedback. And for those of you defending me saying, you know what, it's rumors, you don't always get things correct, thank you. But at the same point, there's nothing wrong with reality checking me, with coming back and saying, hey, you got this wrong, what's going on? Because as I said in the video, it was coming from a known reliable source, somebody that I've trusted for many years, somebody who has a really good track record. But at the same point, known sources, reliable sources don't always have the right information. Sometimes the information provided to them isn't all that accurate. And that happens. These are rumor videos. When I'm talking news, it's news, but until it becomes news and it's a rumor, anything can change. So that's why I've always cautioned people saying they're switching. Let's wait for the announcement. Let's wait to see what we actually get. And now with the Canon EOS R6 Mark II announced, we can truly ask ourselves, is the Canon EOS R6 Mark II the right camera for you? Now, I can't personally answer that question without knowing what capabilities you're looking for. But if we look at it from the Mark I to the Mark II, one clear upgrade, and as many have pointed out, it's not so much the upgrade of the photo capabilities of this camera, which were already very good, but it's that they significantly updated the video capabilities of this camera, making it usable. I was just talking to a friend yesterday after a meeting, and I said, you know, if you're looking at getting a new Canon camera, then look at the R7, the R10, and the R5. There was really nothing in between. Well, I can honestly now say, look at the R7, look at the R10, and look at the R6 Mark II. unlimited recording, a record limit of up to 6 hours, so that's pretty much unlimited. The ability to record 6K oversample 4K, Canon Log 3, HDR-PQ. It's certainly a much better camera, and of course, continuous shooting up to 40 frames per second. It's definitely an improvement, but when it comes to video makers or filmmakers, videographers, the Canon EOS R6 Mark II is now definitely a camera you should consider over the R5. Do you need 8K oversample 4K? Do you really need 4K 120? The Canon EOS R6 Mark II provides 4K up to 60 frames per second, 6K oversample 4K up to 60 frames per second. It's a pretty good camera. And slow motion in 1080, well, things got pushed up a little bit there too. So really an exciting camera. But yeah, we got a few things wrong, but thank you very much for watching. And for all those of you that subscribed, I got over 200 subscribers yesterday. Thank you very much for joining the channel. Thank you very much for your loyalty and watching. Very much appreciated. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera news and rumors, hopefully things are going to subside a little bit, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button followed by all notifications. By choosing all notifications, as soon as I publish a new video like this one here, you'll get notified by YouTube so you can stay up to date on all the latest camera news and rumors. No scrubbing all those Twitter feeds, RSS feeds, or any other feeds that you subscribe to, or tracking down all your favorite websites and YouTube channels. I have it all here. I cover all the major brands, all the major news and rumors. So go ahead and subscribe and then choose all notifications. That's it for now. Thank you so much for dialing in. That's the second day in a row I've said that. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.